Hi, welcome to my channel, Find Your Inner Sparkle. My name's Adele, and I am a long time sufferer, if you like, of anxiety, in all of that, in all of the forms that comes in. So I have general anxiety, or what you might call high functioning, which means that I am a master at masking, and coming across like in everyday life absolutely fine. Whereas inside, there's always, to varying degrees, this angst, if you like. Or fear, like low grade fear. And I have really made this a life's sort of passion and study to kind of go, look, what are all the things that can be done to help with this? Because if you have this or you have something similar, you'll resonate with the fact that you're just always kind of on high alert, like always primed for danger. There's lots of reasons that, this can be the case. And I've kind of looked into it a little bit, but I'm not now at the stage where I need to know why it's there. It doesn't matter. The fact remains that whether it's a neurodivergence trait or whether it's how you've been raised, what your coding is from being little, things that have happened to you in your life that make you feel really worried and on edge, um, or your genes, your genetics. It's probably a mixture of everything, but if we kind of put that to one side, why it's there, the fact remains that you may be experiencing, if you're watching this, symptoms of anxiety. So, what I have poured my effort and energy into really is, well, what can I do about that then? Because it's not pleasant, like just going out and about. There's always this kind of fear that something might happen, whether it's driving the car or walking the dog or going out to meet people in social situations, business situations, a fear of making a fool of yourself. I have worries about filling the car up with petrol in case, you do it wrong or can't pay at the pump or whatever it might be. Um, I struggle with going into small shops. This has been something that I've trained myself to get better at. A small shop where there's no one else in. It's like my worst nightmare because, well, you stand out, right? So there's nowhere to hide. I love like a big shop where I can just browse and there's loads of people and you can just kind of mold into the background. But a small like boutique or something like that, you stand out. And also, well, what if you don't want to buy anything? So I've quite a few friends that are great at this. I went on holiday with some last year, and places like that where the staff are just kind of on you because they want you to buy something. So even worse for me. And honestly, it's great training. So you go in, you look round. We even went upstairs in this shop where they keep the more expensive things, which I just would never do by myself. And we're like looking round, and then my friends were like, no, nothing here for me. Thank you anyway. Bye. And nothing happened. Like the shopkeeper didn't chase them down the street or tell them never to come back again or whatever, of course. But if you are like me and you have this trait, characteristic, you will understand some of what I'm saying. So what can we do about it? Well, I have put together lots of tools. I've put these together for me, and I now share them with other people, with clients and students. And I have a lot of them because different tools are required in different situations. So I think if I've got a really robust toolbox, then I can deploy the right tool once I've got skilled at using those tools in the right situation. And one of them is I've had pens made. Remember to breathe because we hear a lot about breathing, don't we? But I'm just going to give you a quick overview of some of the useful things that you can do because it's very confusing these days. So I've done 500-hour yoga teacher training years ago, and I've also done advanced 300-hour foundations of therapeutic yoga, yoga therapy. And we did days and days and days of breath training, all the science, all the information. So I just want to give you a few pointers that just make it a bit more simple because when you go on the internet and you go on Instagram and YouTube and all of these things, you can be forgiven for being confused because there's fast breathing, there's holding your breath, there's breath work while you do cold stuff, there's square breathing, there's ratios, and it all gets a bit confusing. So I like to think of it as what are the things that happen to your breath when you do feel anxious? And how can we give our body the opposite or the opposing message? So when you feel anxious, your breath is going to be quicker. So if you're doing a quick breath practice, it makes sense that that's kind of going to make that symptom worse rather than balance it out. So if our breath goes quicker when we're anxious or when we're in that fight flight response, something you can do is always remember to work on slowing your breath down. So just slow it down. One other thing that happens is it's shorter. So when we're taking quick breaths, and we can be using these accessory muscles up here if we're really panicking, like in a panic attack situation, the breath is short and shallow. So, what we can do over here to change that pattern and to work on this regularly, not just wait until we're in that panic situation, is to make our breath longer and deeper. So, if you do slower breaths, which are a little bit longer and a little bit deeper, you will begin to unwind the stress response, which is perhaps prevalent a lot of the time without you even sometimes maybe knowing. So that's really simple, isn't it? So you don't need fancy ratios and to remember it's got to be 4, 7, 8. None of that matters as long as for you, you get a bit of sense for yourself, check in regularly and go, okay, how's my breath generally? What kind of length is your normal breath when you're not in a stress situation, when you just sat watching the TV? Maybe you could just have a little check in and do a little count, like, and it might be that your natural normal breath is just 2 or 3 seconds, and that's really normal. So you could work on, well, can I gently lengthen my breath to 4 or 5 seconds? You can do this gradually, and you should do this gradually. So don't, if your breath is like 3 seconds, don't try and do an 8 second or a 10 second breath. Why? Because your body is not used to that, and your breath can easily kind of get you into a feeling of stress if you're straining it. So it's really important that you take baby steps and you just do it gradually. So also remember that when you're out on a walk, your breathing will be a bit quicker because your cardiovascular system is working. So practice this maybe when you're in bed or maybe when you just sat down watching the telly, or you could take a mindful moment, 5, 10 minutes during your day. Just make it a little bit longer, so just 2 or 3 seconds longer. See if you can just make it a bit deeper. So if your breathing is right up here and that's your natural way of breathing, or when you're stressed, you breathe certainly like that. Drop it down and just see if you can breathe a bit more into your belly, your rib cage, expand, breathe a bit lower. Belly breathing is great. So breathe a bit deeper, and just longer, slower, deeper, longer. So just remember those 3 points. Have a little play with it. Be really gentle with yourself, but just make this a little habit so you don't need to kind of follow anything too complicated. That's some general principles. I do have different breath practices available that work on those principles, and some other breath practices that use sound, which is really helpful for stress and things like that. Of course, available in my membership, or obviously teaching my classes, but that hopefully gives you something to work on, that you can just do yourself, quietly at home, or when you're maybe sat in the car parked up or something. And you can begin to gradually change that feeling in your nervous system so that you just feel a little bit calmer, more of the time. And then when you are feeling a bit stressed and worried about something, you're ready to deploy your breath techniques. Lots of other tools for another day for all of those things like driving and going into a shop and, public speaking and all the different things, stress about workloads, overwhelm. I have lots of tools that I use, like I say, useful in different scenarios. But today I just wanted to talk about breath, because this is the next tool on my list. I'm just working down every week. So if you have enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, please do hit the like button. And please, if you don't mind, hit subscribe because it's free on YouTube. It doesn't cost anything and it just really helps the creators, to grow their account, and it helps you to maybe see other videos that I produce in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Sending lots of love. Good luck with your breathing and any questions, pop a comment down below.